Hi everyone, my name is Darl. I created this video to tell you a little bit more about how we started homeschooling. First, a little something about myself. I am currently a full-time homeschooling mom, but before that I was an English trainer and a writer. So we have a daughter who is 6 years old. Her name is Amberly and we call her Allie. Allie was around 3 years old when we decided to homeschool. Um, there are two important things that I would like parents who would like to homeschool to know. First is that you need the commitment of at least one parent who is willing to teach the child. You also need a home environment that is conducive to learning. When we say home environment that's conducive to learning, it doesn't have to be a big space or a well set up space. You just need to make sure that the area is it's quiet so that your child can concentrate and there's enough space for her to work without distractions. And there should be an area where she can keep her things and a table and chair for writing. So those are some of the things that you need to consider when we say home environment. The second important thing that I think parents should consider before they decide to homeschool is that there should be mutual agreement between you and your spouse or your partner. Okay, so if your husband or wife does not agree, I suggest that you do research first on the benefits of homeschooling, the types of homeschooling, activities that you can do together, and then you show those to your spouse. Because if you decide to pursue homeschooling and your spouse does not like it, it might just cause disagreements between you in the future and just make things more stressful for you and the child. So it's not going to be very helpful for your child to have a stressful environment. Right now, though, I know that since there's a pandemic, a lot of parents have no choice but to homeschool. For us, it was something that we really wanted to do, but for other parents, I know they don't have a choice. So that's still something that you should talk about with your spouse first, because your spouse might prefer that to do other things or maybe to do online learning. That's another thing you should think about, that homeschooling does not always have to be online. For us, for example, our daughter doesn't have to do things online. For some, they would prefer to do it online. There are some activities that we also do online, so it depends. For some, they homeschool mostly online. For some, it can be a combination of online and modules or worksheets and workbooks. For some, purely worksheets and workbooks. So it depends. It depends on the school that you choose. It also depends on the school or homeschool provider. We call it a homeschool provider. And it also depends on what you want, because some parents decide to do independent homeschooling, and we'll talk more about that next time. So also make sure that you pray about your decision. It's a very important decision that will affect that will affect you, your family as a whole. It's a new lifestyle for you and your family, so make sure you pray about your decision. Okay, so once the hubby and I decided that we would homeschool Allie, I started doing my research, and I researched a lot on the internet. I read some books about it. There are not many books about homeschooling, so the internet is very useful for looking at blogs and reviews. Homeschooling mostly started in the US, although in the UK and Australia they also do homeschooling. I'm not sure about the other countries. I know in the UK it's called home education. Then here in the Philippines, there are not at the beginning when I started homeschooling, there were not a lot of resources. But one of my top resources, one of my favorite resources, when I started homeschooling was a blog. The blog is Teach with Joy. So um, the lady who runs this blog was also homeschooled herself. She and her siblings were homeschooled. They're the kids of our pastor in our church, and she's also homeschooling her children. So that is one of my favorite resources. Okay, I'll place the link in this video, so that on the captions part, so that you can check if you want. Another thing I did was to attend a seminar, to attend seminars, or to attend talks about homeschooling. I even attended one talk by Joy Tenchi Mendoza. So Joy Tenchi Mendoza and Edric Mendoza, they are homeschooling parents, and Teach with Joy is her blog. Okay. They also wrote a book about homeschooling in case you want to buy the book. I forgot the name of that book. I'll look for it. I think it's Why You Should Homeschool. I think that's the name of the book. Then another book that I like, that's about homeschooling, and written by a parent here in the Philippines, is I Homeschool by Novi Tan. So I Homeschool is a really great resource because it has mostly everything that you need to know about homeschooling. It's a big book. Maybe next time I'll show it to you. It has a lot of resources, and it also talks about the things that you should think about before you homeschool, how to look for resources, it gives you examples. It also talks about how to know your child more, because when you homeschool, you are developing the relationship between you and your child. Okay? So back to when I was thinking about homeschooling Ali. At that time, Ali was 3 years old, so I discovered that the Department of Education only requires one preschool year for the students. So anything else before that is just optional. So if you want to, I know some parents want to let their child go to school early. It's not something that I would prefer. Yes, that's Ali over there. That's my daughter. She's looking in, watching me talking about her and her homeschooling. You want to say hi, Ali? Just smile. Just open the door and smile. Open the door a little bit and smile. Are you shy? Okay, she's shy. So, yes, there. So we were talking about the Department of Education's requirements. Yes, that's very nice. Yes, I like it. Very nice. So we're talking about the Department of Education's requirements, that you only need one preschool year for your child. So they only need to attend K2 or kindergarten 2 at the age of 5 years old. That's the only thing that's required. Other than that, it's or earlier than that, it's just optional. So if your child is younger than that, again, like I said, it's not necessary to send her to school. Okay, but if you want to, then it's fine. But what this meant for us as homeschoolers is that even if we enroll her with a provider, she can only be in kindergarten 2 once she is 5 years old. So she was 3 years old, but we wanted to homeschool already because we noticed her interest. Okay, that's one thing. It was not exactly formal homeschooling. It's just that we noticed that she was really interested. She wanted to learn more, and I wanted to make sure that she was learning the right things, because I was worried that if I did not teach her, she might find a way to learn about things by herself, and they might not necessarily be appropriate for her. So that was why we decided to start homeschooling her. And it was also important for us that she would learn more about our faith, about what we believe in. So what did we do when we decided that we would just homeschool her ourselves, even if we didn't, even if we were not going to enroll yet with a homeschool provider? What did we do? So we did activities, mostly activities. You just do play-based activities. It's playing, but there's a goal when you play. That's for part of the day, of course, and then the rest of the day she can play whatever she wants to play or read. Our daughter loves to read a lot. She is an independent learner and an advanced reader, so she loves reading by herself right now. So what kind of activities did we do? At 3 years old, preschool activities are just coloring, cutting, painting, a little bit of writing, but you don't have to really force your child to write if she does not want to. I'll talk more about that later on. It was a learning experience for me teaching her writing. We bought workbooks for nursery and K1, so, and I would follow the workbooks for the topics that we would do, and then we would do one page in a day, 1 or 2 pages if she feels like doing it. Then we do other activities, and we finished the workbooks in 1 year. Mostly we read books. We read books a lot. We didn't read only storybooks. We read the Bible. We read science books because she loves science. She's into non-fiction more than fiction. She doesn't like storybooks so much anymore. And we also read books on character and values, and like I said, Bible stories. There's a list of skills that preschoolers need to develop, and I found this on Joy's blog, Teach with Joy, and I based my activities on those. I'll also include that link later on the captions part, so you can look at it if you have a preschooler. At the start when we started homeschooling, we didn't have a printer. A printer is very nice to have. It makes things so much easier for you. We have a printer now, so I can print a lot of worksheets, workbooks for Ali. But at the beginning, we didn't have a printer, so I did everything mostly by hand. It's really not a problem to write. You can write on paper. You can write on a notebook. I had a notebook for her for math. I had a separate notebook for her for English. Anything that I wanted her to practice or learn, I wrote in the English notebook. Poems, I wrote just really short stories with a few reading comprehension questions, a little bit of tracing because she did not like writing at first. For math, counting numbers, a little bit of tracing of the numbers, things like that. That's what I also wrote in the math notebook. One question that a lot of people ask me when they find out that we are homeschooling is about the socialization. So many people always ask about socialization. For us, socialization is not really that much of an issue. We just wanted her to learn to be more respectful with others, how to get along with others, but we believe that she can also learn that by observing adults, not just from interacting with kids. But that doesn't mean that we didn't let her interact with kids. On Sundays, she had Sunday school, so every Sunday, Sunday school is a class with other kids who are in more or less the same age range as her, and they have classes and they learn about the Bible, they learn about Jesus, they learn about our Lord and Savior. So she does get to interact with other kids and play with other kids on Sundays. She's an only child, so we don't have other kids. Her cousins are also living far away, so It's mostly just her here in the house. So, but she always looks forward to Sunday school. That and right now we have a co-op with our current homeschool provider, where she meets up with other kids who are also homeschoolers, and we have activities once a month. But because of the pandemic right now, we're doing the activities mostly through Zoom or Messenger. Just do virtual activities just so the kids can see each other and talk to each other a little bit. So that's something that I really appreciate our co-op for. We're very supportive with each other, our co-op. And we just joined this co-op last year. Okay. So, like I said at the start, at the start of our homeschooling journey, we didn't enroll with a provider. We continued until she was almost 5. So when she was 3 years old until 5 years old, that was independent homeschooling. That was what we did. After that, when we already decided to enroll with a homeschool provider, I attended an online talk about homeschooling by Michelle Padrillanet. So I'll include her Instagram account on the captions part of this video, so that you can check her out. You can look at her account and see if she offers other webinars. It was a webinar that she offered. It was very helpful. I also learned a lot from her on the different types of homeschooling and the different providers and the different homeschool providers. We are living in Cebu, by the way, right now. So at the time that I started looking at different homeschool providers, yes, Sally. At the time when I started looking at different homeschool providers, my top 3 were Homeschool Global, Harvest Christian School International, and the School of Tomorrow. Yes, it's very nice. So those were my top 3 choices. And from there, we chose our current homeschool provider, which is School of Tomorrow. So she was in K2 when we enrolled in School of Tomorrow. That was last year, and now she's going to be in grade 1. And I'll talk more about my homeschool provider next time as well. I know some parents were also asking me about who our homeschool provider is. So that's it. That is my short intro to homeschooling. If you have any questions, please leave that in the comments box, and I'll make another video to answer questions from you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.